Welcome back to Design Bundle's YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Crystal. Today I'm going to show you guys how to maintenance and take care of your Cricut machines. Now this is across the board, whether you have the Cricut Explorer models, from 2 or 3, as well as your Maker models from the Maker to the Maker 3. So this is going to be any of your machines, including Silhouette really. So any of your die cutting machines, these same steps can apply. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I've tried to zoom you guys in as close as I can so you guys could see all of the details here. So whenever it comes to our die cutting machines, you can get paper buildup in there. Whenever you're cutting your vinyl, all of those little tiny pieces, as well as HTV, all those little tiny pieces. Have you ever had, say for example in your dryer, you start to build up that lint? The same thing can happen with your die cutting machines, especially with your paper crafts. So how do you clean them? How do you clean them? How do you maintain and maintenance your machine? You should maintenance your machine at least once a month by at least using the canned air, which I'm going to show you guys today, to blow out any sort of debris. And then you should also, clean out any sort of debris from your blade as well. You should actually do that every other cut just to check, especially if you're using paper crafts. Say, for example, I did a mandala the other day that was 10 sheets. Every couple of sheets, maybe every 3 or 4 sheets, when I was changing mats, I would actually stop and push this, which I'm going to show you today, to clean out any sort of paper debris. Because if you leave that in there, that's where you're going to start to get, some jammed up paper. So you always want to do that, especially, like I said, paper crafts. If you were only cutting HTV, you wouldn't have to mess with it as much. Vinyl will do that sometimes as well, especially with those tiny little intricate pieces. Now, the major clean out that we're going to be doing today, you want to do at least 6 months, every 6 months to a year, to really do a deep clean on these. Even on the outside, you're going to get that lint buildup. Like I said, if you guys have, with your dryers, in your laundry room, you guys may notice that fine mist of, lint and stuff build up, which obviously if you guys have a Cricut machine, you guys have seen that. But I know a lot of you guys may have just purchased one for Christmas or got one for Christmas and you want to know how to maintain it. All right, so one of the first things that you can do is get yourself some canned air, and then you're just going to simply blow it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and shake this up. You want to have that nice distance. I'm going to try to do this on camera here, so I'm having to angle weird. So you're basically just wanting to do a nice little spray out here. Don't get too close because you don't want to get, this can spray out basically like almost water. Let me see if I can do it on the table here. Maybe you guys will be able to see it on camera. I don't think you guys will be able to. If you get too close, you can almost see that mist build up. So keep that distance that you're supposed to and just kind of do a quick blow through. You can also come on the back side of the machine and that gap back here and do the same thing just to kind of blow that out. So you want to kind of get in here on the sides here. You have tuck-ins back in here. You want to go ahead and do that same thing as well, just kind of quickly popping it out. Right here on your housing mechanism, go ahead and do a couple quick spritz through there. So you want to do that. You also want to open up your bottom here, do the same thing, remove all of the pieces from the inside, and then also do that same thing to blow it out. So that's how you're going to do that. You also want to do the same thing here on the cup holders with that canned air. So you can definitely take that canned air here and we can pop it just like so to blow out any of that debris as well. Now, a few more things we can do to maintenance this, to get rid of. So for example, right here on the bottom, I always kind of get a little bit of film buildup. So what you want to do is take some baby wipes. So you could also just take a microfiber cloth and some water. You definitely don't want to use any sort of harsh chemicals. Another thing that we don't want to do is get on our rollers here and remove any of this oil. So you definitely want to avoid cleaning these rollers because you don't want to remove the oil that Cricut has on there for you. So what you can do is take your little baby wipes. The ones I like to do is the sensitive, to where they don't have a lot of scents or anything like that. So keeping it super easy because this is almost like water basically. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through here and wipe everything down. I'm really trying to, what I do is I kind of get it on my finger like so, and I'll really pay attention, clean off that sensor here. So if you guys have the Cricut Maker 3 or the Cricut Explorer 3, you may want to clean that sensor every now and again to make sure that it's able to read properly for the smart materials. So we're going to go ahead and go through there. Very carefully, I'll do that same thing, taking my finger here to go in between the bars on the bottom. Once again, trying to avoid touching my bars to remove any sort of oil or debris. Once again, I'm avoiding touching the bars to remove any of that oil. So another thing you want to do is just kind of clean your housing here. So we can do that. We're going to pop out our blade here and you can do the same thing. Kind of do a quick wipe down of all of that too, just to kind of clean that up. Something that you touch a lot with your fingers is this piece right here, so you may want to wipe that up really good, as well as the outside of your machine right here. So you may get a lot of, you know, fingerprints and all that kind of stuff in here. Take that baby wipe and go right inside of your little groove here, and then you can also get down in those pockets with that wipe as well. Once again, you could definitely do that same thing with water and a microfiber cloth. All right, so go ahead and do that. Same thing to the outside. You may want to go ahead and take that same baby wipe and really wipe the entire machine down, just like so. Now, another thing I like to keep on hand is these eyeglass cleaning cloths. These are perfect. They're lint-free. And then you can come back after the fact to really buff everything out and finish it off. So we'll go ahead and pop this open, and I'll do the same thing. So I'm going to do this. Now, these come with our cell phone. So whenever we get a new glass for our cell phone, we get these all the time. I just throw my craft room and keep them for things like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe everything down, just like so. All right, so now that we have that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and buff this out as well. Now that we have the basic cleaning of the machine out of the way, so you need your canned air to really blow out any sort of debris. And then once again, come from that back side too to really kind of get it to come forward so it's not all just going towards the back. But you want to make sure and focus back in here and also back in there, spraying in here. So you may want to remove your blade housing too to kind of get in there as well. Once again, definitely make sure you guys are keeping that distance, and then use that baby wipe to completely wipe your entire machine down. Now, how do we maintenance our housing and our blades? So whenever it comes to the housing, so for example, like I said, every 3 papers when I was cutting my mandala, I would pull this out and do this. And what that's going to do is that's going to drop all of that paper and debris that is building up right inside of this hole. So especially like I said with paper crafts, you can really get some buildup right inside of here. And so by just simply doing this, it'll pop it right out. So if you guys are doing paper crafts, but you also work with HTV, every single time you are done with your paper crafts, pull this out and do this before you wrap your machine up and shut it for the night, because you're going to start an HTV project and forget. You're going to have that paper build up and your HTV is going to kind of gum up and you're going to wonder why, and that's why. So always make sure you do this to clean that out. Now, how do you change out the blade, or how do you sharpen the blade? So say for example, I don't have any replacement blades, but my blade is super dull and I'm trying to cut some projects and I want to extend the life of the blade. What can I do? What you can do is get yourself some tin foil here, and you're just going to go ahead and kind of wad it up like this. All right. So just like that, keep a ball. So you could just keep a ball like this in your craft space. And what you're going to do is just push down to really get that blade to come out. So you guys can hopefully see that there. Holding that down, I'm just going to pop this in and out. So I'm just going to poke several times on that tin foil. And what this is doing, so as I'm having this out, I'm holding it down the whole time. I'm stabbing the tin foil. And what this is doing is it's sharpening that blade. And it don't take very many times. So just like that, that blade is resharpened and ready to go. That's going to save you guys a ton of cash, and that is a quick tip for me. Now, how do you change out the blade? I like to store my extra blades right inside of here. There's a magnet here, and I just keep them like so. So what you're going to do, you're going to push this down, just like I showed you before. You're going to carefully grab this and pull, just like that. It's going to pop it right out. You're going to set this aside. You're going to pull off this back piece right here, which is going to, which is protecting that blade. You're going to grab that blade very carefully, hold on to it, and you want to keep this whole bottom open. Push this in again, or you don't even have to really push it in. Once you kind of do this, that magnet's going to grab it. I'm going to try to see if you guys can see that. We're going to carefully push it in a little bit, and that magnet grabbed it. See that? So you are good to go. Now you could also push this down and then push it in. It's going to grab it as well. But really, it'll snag it right inside. That's how you're going to replace your blades. Now I like to go ahead, add this back in, close it, just like so. And then you're going to take the old blade here put the cap on, and then throw it in the trash. This is going to prevent yourself from poking yourself and going through the trash, as well as anybody that's going to get a hold of your trash in the future. So definitely like to try to do that if you can. Once again, toss this in the trash. I don't like to store them in here because I'm going to forget that this is an old one. Now, if you're somebody that wants to store these for later, just in case for an emergency to go back to an old one, just store it on one side to where you know that this is old. Somewhere over here, this is where my new ones are. Maybe my old ones are over here, just in case an emergency. All right, so that is how you are going to maintenance your machine. It's super duper easy to clean and keep up with. Now, if you guys want to see how do you clean your Cricut mats to extend the life of them, definitely check out our video on that. I'll have it linked above or down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.